Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Bottle Buddy Podcast. I'm really excited to be live again this week. Had a pre-recorded release last week. You are going to love this guest today. This guy is the man, the myth, and the legend. If you are circulating on Facebook World or Clubhouse and you're in the Veterans Network or the Vetpreneur Tribe, any of those groups, you're going to recognize this guy immediately. I got Richard Kaufman here with me today, and we're going to talk about a lot of the things he's got going on, including his new podcast, Vertical Momentum. So without further ado, let's get to the intro and get to the great conversation.
Welcome to the Battle Buddy Podcast with Keith McKeever.
Hey, Richard.
What's up?
Comeback coach.
What's up?
Hey, just another day in paradise.
Living the dream, baby.
I love the shirt and the hat. I know where you got the hat, but I'm loving the purple Batman shirt.
But now, before we get off today, you have to ask me, why do I have to wear a hat? And it's not because I'm going, but there's a reason why I have.
We have different problems.
So definitely ask me that question.
Okay, absolutely. So why the hat? How about that?
All right, we'll start off with that. About 5 years ago, when I started to try to help veterans that were struggling with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, depression, and stuff like that, me and my wife went to go see the movie American Sniper. And I got so emotional afterwards that when I got home, I got in touch with his wife and the family. And I told them that from now on, any show that I go on, even if it's live on stage or a podcast, I'll wear a hat in honor of Chris Kyle, just to let him know, let people know that there are people like Chris that are willing to lose their lives to help let you know that you're not alone. And Chris actually got killed trying to help somebody else with PTSD. So that's the reason why I wear it, to honor Chris, but also to let people know that there are people out there like me and you, to let people know that they're not alone and they're not struggling through this alone, and that we got their six. So that's why I wear a hat. And I've actually been invited on a top 5 podcasts in the world, and they said I couldn't wear it. And I told them I did not go on it, so I canceled it.
Wow. I knew Chris Kyle's story, but I didn't know your connection to that story. So that is something else, Richard. And you are always a man of many surprises. you are something else. Like I said in the intro, the man, the myth, the legend.
No, there's no legend here.
Oh yeah, you're getting there, man. You got a great podcast. But before we get started on that, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your story. Your growing up, your military journey, all that stuff.
All right.
Give a little background.
I'll give you a quick down and dirty, and then talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm an open book. I got no shame in my game, so whatever you want to talk about. Grew up very poor. Mother was an addict. I moved around a lot, 13 times before high school. My story sounds a lot like Robert Garcia, or one of our friends. And I had my first drop of alcohol at age 12. By age 13, I was a full-blown alcoholic. Dropped out of high school, joined the military at 17. Then I got in the military, and I became a drug addict and an alcoholic. And after 2.5 years, Uncle Sam decided he didn't want me as his nephew anymore, and he booted my ass out. So I get home. Tried to go home and live with mom and dad, but just didn't work out. Going from partying all over the world to having to go to bed at 10 o'clock because my parents have to get up at 5 o'clock didn't exactly gel. And I totally understand where that came from. So they booted my ass out. You start to see a little thing going on.
A little bit of a trend there, yeah. Nothing like living with your parents to cramp your style, though.
I'm the only person that you're ever going to meet that I was so bad that they actually threw me out of a crack house. That's how bad my attitude was. Eventually, mom let me back in the house because I promised her I'd go back to school. I went back to school to be a bartender, which wasn't smart as an alcoholic. I did great. I passed all the tests. And January 1st, 1988, I got offered a bartend at a friend's bar. He was a police officer here in New Jersey. So I took the job. Everything was going great. Everything was going well. and drinks are flowing, everything's going great. 8 hours later, I hear a knock at the door. It was him and 5 of his buddies coming to lock me up because I passed out and blacked out, and I robbed the place. And I was looking at 5 years for grand larceny. But my parents and my aunt and uncle came up with the bail. He said, I'll give you 24 hours. You got to come up with my money, and you have to go to your first AA meeting, and you have to go hit 90 AA meetings in a row. Came up with the money. Parents lent it to me. I paid it all back. And I hit something like 300 AA meetings in a row. And I haven't had a drink since January 2nd, 1989. Now, after that, I got sober. I got stupid again and decided to join the military again. And I did join. I joined the National Guard, got back in, which was a whole song and dance. I still had a lot of problems. I got busted a lot. I've been like E4 to E1 like 5-6 times. And I joined the South Carolina National Guard. And, you know, being from Jersey and then having a smart mouth and having an attitude, they didn't take kindly to me. And being a screw up didn't exactly ingratiate me to everybody. So I got busted again in South Carolina, and they were due to throw me out for a second time on the end of September of 2001. But September 11th, as you guys know, if you guys know me at all, I'm from New Jersey, and where I'm sitting right now, I'm overlooking where the Twin Towers once stood. So, you know, growing up here, we knew people that perished in the towers that day. And now I want you to picture this, Keith. I'm sitting down on my couch because, you know, after the first plane hit, you know, everybody was, it was all live. You know, there was no editing, and there were people jumping out of buildings, and you could see hitting the ground. And here I am, I'm looking at the TV here, and all my TA-50s on the right-hand side, because I got to turn it in because I'm being thrown out again of the military for a second time. And, you know, then they panned to them pulling bodies out of the Pentagon. And something broke in me, and I became a broken man. Something just destroyed me. And I actually cried out. It's in my book that I wrote. I actually cried out to God. I said, Lord, I don't think they're going to give me a third chance in the military. But if they give me another chance, please let them keep me so I can help people that cannot help themselves. And I dedicated the rest of my life to helping people that can't help themselves. Now I called my company commander and I called my first sergeant. We're still friends, my company commander right now. I'm at 20 something years later. And they seen something different in me. So they decided to keep me, thank God. And within 4 years, I became Soldier of the Year. I became a non-commissioned officer. And I ended up with over 23 years between National Guard and regular Army time. But that's the last part of my story is, like I said, I don't know how deep you want to go, and I hope I'm not talking too much. I apologize.
No, you're fine. Keep going.
But if you guys know anything about me, I'm blind, and I got to use a Mr. Magoo glass in order to read anything. But what happened was I moved to New Jersey National Guard, and a vehicle broke down on the highway, and in order for me to recover that vehicle, I had to back it up. Now, as you guys know, whenever you're in a Humvee, you keep your Kevlar on. But usually when you step out of the cover, you take off your soft cap. You put on your soft cap. You take off your Kevlar, put it on your belt.
9 times out of 10.
But the 10th time, I kept it on. It was a God thing. Because now this is a brand new private first drill with us. Instead of him hitting the brakes, he hit the gas and ran over the whole right side of my body and ran over my head. And that's when I had a ocular stroke. And that's what caused me to be blind in my left eye. So now, of course, the Army, you can't see, you can't shoot. So they decided to medically discharge me. And it took about a year and a half. I guess they call it Warrior Transition Unit, something like that. But as I was there, in there, I started reading books and about, social media, just Gary V and stuff like that. So, I'm sorry, guys, but I get emotional whenever I talk about this. If you guys watch my video for today, I decided it's the whole reason that I do everything that I do today. I decided to kill myself on Memorial Day. It's coming up, just the anniversary, because here I am. I screwed up so much in the past. And when I got the second chance that, God gave me and the military gave me, I did everything I could to be the ultimate soldier. I went to every class. I went to every school. Whatever they wanted, I did. I got there 2 hours early, stayed 2 hours late. I was the pecker checker. I did the piss test. I did whatever they wanted me to do.
Well, we need to back up to that. No, just kidding. We're not backing up to that.
But, so whatever they wanted me to do, to be the ultimate soldier, it's what I did. And then the day when they said, Sergeant Kaufman, you're no longer a member of the United States military, you're retired. And I had to hand them over my ID. It totally destroyed me. And I bought a brand new truck like the week or month before. So I got out in my truck and I decided, I'm going to kill myself. I said, I can't take it because I don't know who I am. I was just Sergeant Kaufman for 23 years. And now I'm PFC nobody, private friggin' civilian nobody. And so I decided to call my wife. And I called her because I knew I was never going to talk to her again. And because we were supposed to take the kids down to the shore and everything. And in New Jersey, I don't know if you guys have ever been on highways. We're nothing but highways here. And there's always concrete barriers. So I decided I was going to get in my new truck and get up to 100 miles an hour and put it on cruise control and turn the radio on and just close my eyes. And eventually I was going to, I was going to be dead. So I did that. I got up to 100 miles an hour. I turned the radio on and I feel the truck swerving, starting to move. Turn the radio up and a song called I Saw God Today came on. And it talks about a man and his little girl. And I had a newborn baby at home. And I decided at that moment that I didn't want to die. I wanted to be a daddy and I wanted to be a husband. So I yanked the steering wheel and got back right and pulled over and called my wife, said, I'll be there in a little while. I got to my wife and she still doesn't know what happens to this day. Even though it's in the book and all this, she still doesn't know that she almost lost her father of 3 children that day. And I got to her and I said, honey, I need help or else I'm going to kill myself or I'm going to eat my gun. So when I got back Monday after Memorial Day, they called the VA and they set me up with a doctor, a psychologist. I've been seeing her for the last 11 years now. So this is the funny part. I'm talking to my wife and I said, I'm done with the appointment. The appointment went well. And I'm like, honey, you're not going to believe this. She's like, what? She's like, you're not going to guess what my doctor's name is. And she said, who? Her name was Dr. Seuss. It's not spelled the same, but it's Dr. Soos. And she's been my therapist ever since. And that from that day on is when I started to try to help other people that were struggling with the same things I was. And then, from there on, I started hearing this name, Gary V. Now I'm in Jersey. So, sometimes my wife says my balls are bigger than my brains. So I just called up his father's liquor store. I'm like, hey, when's Gary going to be there? He's like, he's going to be here Wednesday. I was like, all right, I'll be there. So I just went to his father's liquor store and got a chance to meet up and hang out with Gary V. And he's the one that really, really got this thing going with the whole comeback coach and everything like that. So without his guidance, I wouldn't have a podcast. I wouldn't have my book just hit #1 last week. I wouldn't have any of this stuff if it wasn't for Gary Vee. And I got to give a shout out to a guy named Donnie Boyven, Success Champions podcast, because he's the first one that ever had me on his show. So I just want to say that. So that's my quick down and dirty.
Yeah. No, you know what?
Talking, you got to go.
There's a few things to talk about in there. For those that are still serving in the military, do whatever you can to get out of urinalysis duty. That's not fun. I had to do that a couple of times. And talk about the most everybody had to go pee at some point in time. Don't be the NCO that end up having to go be the pee checker. That's bad duty right there.
It's weird because here I was one time being afraid of having to take it. Now I'm the guy that giving it. But it was just, another course they asked me to take. So I'm like, wait a minute. So I can go there for 6 weeks and take a course? Okay.
Wow. I didn't know there was a course in that.
Yeah. There was a course on that. And then they said, you want to be a combat lifesaver? I'm like, sure. Whatever. Send me.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Might as well do something. It beats some of the alternatives in work, right?
Yeah. And I reclassed 3 different times just because they wanted to send me to schools.
So you spent a lot of time in the urinalysis. That's I think I was only there twice that I got tasked for it, and it was like an afternoon kind of thing. And I was the NCO that would stand by the door and be like, just pee, just do your thing. I don't want to see it. I'm in the room. I meet the minimum requirements for being a pee checker. But man, I got piss tested. Like I lost count 15, 16 times in a little over 5 years. And I really hated it when you'd have that guy that would be like all over your shoulder. Be like, dude, we finished doing the nut to butt thing when we were in basic training, standing in formation. You only got to be that close to me. Your head don't need to be over my shoulder. Like
I wasn't that guy. I'm like, listen, dude, just go.
Yeah, don't be that guy because that guy is weird and creepy.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd get creeped out by another guy, but it happened a few times. But funny story on my own story on that. I was down in Ecuador on a TDY for 6 months. 13-person team goes down there. We all come back, and 13 of us plus our squadron commander all got random urinalysis tests within a week of being back from South America. I always looked at that like that was random, huh? We were all down in South America, then we all got randomly tested, huh? How ironic. But another thing to point out there is Gary Vaynerchuk, man. I've been following him for a long time, probably not as long as you. I got a couple of his books, and I actually got a chance to meet him myself 3 years ago in Las Vegas at the RE/MAX convention. They have their annual convention there, and he was a speaker. And my wife and I are walking around Vegas. We don't really gamble. We don't really drink much. So we're just like walking through one of the hotels. I couldn't even tell you what it is because I've been to Vegas once and probably don't know if I'll ever go back. But we're walking through, and I noticed this cameraman, D-Rock. And I'm like, and then right around the corner comes Gary, and I'm like looking around. There's nobody. This is like 10 o'clock at night, which you would think there'd be a lot of people in the casino, but there was nobody. And he was nice enough to take a picture with us real briefly. But
and two of his books really changed my life. One was The Thank You Economy, great book, and the second one was Jab, 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 Right Hook.
I must admit I have not read that one yet. It's on my bookshelf.
It's great, and because like for me, the reason why I think that I'm starting to grow a little bit is Gary says, if you promote your friends 10 times more than you promote yourself, you'll never have to promote yourself again. So that's why if I ever even put a post out, it's always including somebody else, where it's never about me. It's always about somebody else. And I guess, that's one thing that changed my life and my business was always to give, and then ask once in a while.
Yeah. The thing that really stuck with me about all the things, because I had the audiobook Crush It, and I've got a couple of his books over here. I just haven't made it all the way through them, but I used to watch a lot of his videos, YouTube and Instagram mostly. Haven't really caught much of his lately, but just leading with value is something that really hit me because he said somewhere once, like, yeah, well, you might as well give all the answers. You might as well help. Like, it just gives so much value. And there's a lot of people in the entrepreneur space that are like, whoa, pump the brakes. Why are you giving all that information? But if you listen to Gary, he says, who cares? 95% or whatever his statistic is of people aren't going to do anything with it.
Yep.
They're not going to do anything. You're just giving them the advice. They're not going to do anything with it. Those 3% that do, so be it. You've helped them out. you've led with value and makes, and so that's the lesson I really got from Gary. But that's a good segue into your current endeavor, because you talk a lot about you've talked a lot in the past about entrepreneurship and mental health and substance abuse and all that stuff. Your new podcast is Vertical Momentum. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about that and what you're talking about on there.
Well, for anybody that knows me, knows that I'm one of my main mentors is a gentleman named Ed Milet. And he's also a good Christian man, besides being successful. And I just wanted to, because when I became blind, I had a podcast called Success, Your Why Powers Your How. And how that started out is I just started, I was with GNC for 30 years. So I just started talking about different products I was using and different, just doing reviews and stuff. But then when I became blind last January 30th, my birthday, totally, well, now I'm 80% blind. But I got into a deep, dark depression. But because of some of my friends, I call them my amigos, Dudek, Tammy Moses, Kurt Balish, Daniel Curry, they kind of brought me back and from the brinks. And they're like, hey, what are you doing with that podcast? And then I started thinking about it. So then I started asking people that have worse situations than me to come on the show. I've had people that had all 4 of their limbs blown off, but they're skiing in Aspen with their family. So, I'm like, wait a minute, you got no legs and no arms, but you're skiing in Aspen. And I'm complaining about this. There's an old saying that the man with no shoes can't complain to the man with no feet. So I just started doing that. And then I just started branching out and getting better and better guests, bigger guests. And now it's just become, we're the number 8 veteran-owned podcast in the world. And it's all because of the guests. It's got nothing to do with me, because my whole thing is 100% live. There's no editing whatsoever. So it is what it is. If you say something stupid, it's not getting edited out. But the good thing is, it's like, me and you just having a cup of coffee together, just sitting here BSing. So I think that somebody gave me the biggest compliment. They call me the Joe Rogan of G.I. Joes. And that was like the biggest compliment that I ever got. So,
that's an interesting one, but a good one.
So it's just another way of me to give back, because, like I've interviewed a lot of females that are dealing with military sexual trauma and stuff like that. And I deal with a lot of, post-traumatic stress, stuff like that. They're not sexy subjects, but they need to be talked about. So I guess that's what makes me different than a lot of podcasts. But then I've also had athletes on. I've actually had authors, a couple of 9-figure earners. So it runs the gamut of, like today, I released an interview with Dr. Shauna Springer, talking about post-traumatic growth instead of post-traumatic stress. And then tomorrow I got an interview coming out with, his name is Maxwell Ivy. He's the blind blogger, and he's blind, but he has his own popular podcast, books, and he travels around the world speaking on stages. So it depends on you don't know what you're going to get from day to day.
Yeah, you've had some great guests, and to be honest, Richard, I am really honestly glad to have you on this podcast, because we're talking about some of the same things, different guests, so some of the same guests, but these topics, like you said, aren't sexy. It's not sexy or fun to watch stories about military sexual trauma, PTSD, substance abuse, suicide. I mean, but they need to be talked about, because I think for a really, really long time they weren't talked about. Whether maybe it just wasn't social media, just wasn't fitting for that. Just had to catch to the right video and podcast age, maybe that we're in now. But it's got to be talked about because
I'm gonna say this, if you guys are watching this, stop that 22 push-ups a day. It's bullshit. Stop it. Pick up your phone, text, call somebody, call 22 people a day, text 22 people a day, message 22 people a day. Your push-ups don't do shit. So stop.
I could not agree more. You walked right into a question that I was going to ask on that. So I think one thing that maybe that has helped a little bit with is bring some awareness to veteran suicide. It doesn't stop it. It doesn't fix it. It doesn't do anything but bring a little bit of awareness. But because of social media and people like yourself out there talking about these things, do you think we're on the verge of making any actual changes? Like any actual impact on fixing this or altering the course of these numbers? We don't see 22 today.
And, I sometimes have that same question, but then I think back to the day, when I first started doing my Facebook Lives. I have a Facebook Live show I do every Monday night called the Monday Night Comeback. And a gentleman said that he had his 45 out. He racked it, was just about to pull the trigger when he got a notification that I was going live. And we were talking about addiction and suicide. So he re-racked it, and then he called 911 right there and checked himself into. There's a little story. I hope you have a second, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
There's a little boy walking on the beach, and there's a little old man. He's walking down the beach, and he sees this little boy, and he's picking up these crabs and he's flipping them back in the ocean. And there's millions of them. And the old man walks up to the little boy, and the old man says, "What are you doing? You're wasting your time." And the little boy had a tear in his eye. He looked up at the old man. He says, "I can't save all of them, but you see this one, I saved him and I changed his world." So we might not be able to save everybody, but if we can just save one, then we change the world.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the numbers over time, if we change that narrative to 21 or 20, those numbers add up a lot over time. And I think that's a really good point there, that while we'd like that number to be zero, in all reality, it's never going to be zero. We deal with this too much stuff. There's too many people, too many issues. We're always going to lose somebody every day. But if we could just get that number drastically lower, save lives, turn things around. That's why I call my podcast the Battle Buddy Podcast. I know if people have listened to me for a while, they've heard it, because I realize on Facebook groups, and I know you've seen the same thing, people are dealing with a ton of problems. They're financial problems, divorce, PTSD, substance abuse, suicidal ideations, military sexual trauma, all kinds of different things. And I realized, a lot of them were just reaching out for somebody. And I realized, okay, if I can talk about it, maybe somebody can take something that's actionable and turn their life around some way, shape, or form, whether it's financially. Maybe they take some advice on, my second episode was about credit. Maybe it's a financial stress, and they can take that and say, okay, I'm going to fix my credit. I'm going to go buy that house. I'm going to get my finances straight. Or like you said, maybe they take the gun out of their mouth.
And, if you don't mind me saying, but, I was listening to Gary, one of Gary's episodes recently, and he said the top 2 social media platforms in the next 2 years are Clubhouse and TikTok. And guys, if you're not on either one of those, you're losing money. And the reason why I'm on TikTok is because I found out through somebody I interviewed that on average, between the ages of 8 to 18, 5,000 kids attempt suicide every day in the United States. So imagine if our kids are struggling with this stuff, and now we have their parents struggling with stuff. So if we can get to the younger kids saying that it's okay not to be okay. That's why I'm on all over TikTok and Clubhouse now. To maybe we can start changing the narrative from teenagers all the way up to adulthood.
Yeah, I think that would be huge because there's a stigma about mental health. I mean, I heard it when I got back from my first deployment. They flat out said, don't go to mental health. You go to mental health. I was security forces, so carrying a gun every day, being on post, guarding the base. They're like, you go to mental health, they're taking your gun. They take your gun, your career is done. You're out. It's over. And so, I don't know. You just find some ways to kind of adapt and say, okay, well, I can't do that. And it takes, and I was not able to do it at that time, but it takes a heck of a lot of strength to kind of talk about your struggles and what you're going through, the things you've seen, the things you did, the witness, whatever, even moral injuries, doing something that's not really inherently bad, but it's just eats at the core of who you are. Like that's hard. And if you're not talking to your battle buddies about it, and you're not talking to mental health, all you're doing is putting up a wall and everything else is behind it. And it just builds up and it festers for years. And, you eventually got to let that out.
Yeah.
And, that's where breaking down that stigma helps.
I've interviewed hundreds of people, including, General Petraeus. And one of the things that, we miss the most is that camaraderie. We miss that. Now, I used to miss that 3 a.m. sitting on the top of a tank in the middle of the desert, just talking shit, the 4 of us, because, you become brothers, you get to know family things, you get to know them personally. And when you get out, like a friend of ours says, Nick Valentine says, when you get out of the military don't give a shit about you.
You're just a number.
And and once you step off that base, you're nobody anymore. Whether if you were sergeant, first class, whatever, you're private friggin' civilian now, and you lose your mission and you lose your camaraderie. So,
they've got your replacement. They got your replacement's number circled on a piece of paper before they even hand you your DD-214.
Yeah.
You're just a number, and it makes sense because the mission's got to go on. We have to protect our interests around the world. Got to do all the things that the military does, all the different types of missions, but that breaks down so fast.
Yeah.
It's point blank to anybody who might be listening to this at any point in time. It's lonely on the other side. You need to find a way immediately to find some sort of connection, whether it's 1 or 2 battle buddies or an organization. What you're into is different, whether it's VFW, American Legion, AMVETS, or local motorcycle club, Marine Corps League, whatever. Find something. Find somebody.
Even if you're a veteran that wants to join a business, join the Vetpreneur Tribe. You have 15,000 strong that are there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's free.
Absolutely.
Free.
It's free. And so is Clubhouse. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up because you mentioned it earlier. The Veterans Network that DP started on there, it's huge. It's powerful. In the last couple of months, I know you've been in some rooms like this too, where somebody comes in there and they're having a problem. I was pinged into one just a couple nights ago. I won't say the person's name, but somebody was struggling. They started a room with a title that they were struggling, and somebody else jumped in there and started pinging people in. As soon as I saw the list of people that was in there and the title, I immediately had to jump in. And I was in a great room with a great conversation. But I knew at that moment a battle buddy needed me. And I talked to this person a couple of times. I know his name, know a little bit of his story, but that's about it. And it was amazing to see that for the next 2 hours after that, there was at least 6 people in that room at any given point in time. Nobody left that room until he said, I'm okay, guys. I need to go to bed. I got to get up for work tomorrow morning. You guys have helped. You guys, allowed me to kind of just vent and talk. And it's one of those things, we may have saved a life that night just by being there in that room. And that's an incredible feeling to know. And all I did was just jump in and talk, engage in conversation, get the guy's mind off of things, let him kind of calm himself down. What he was going through was a lot, but there's a lot of power there. Those conversations in Clubhouse are just, even the positive ones, entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
People just building connections, business deals, and all kinds of stuff going on there. It's incredible. That's another wonderful place to get.
Free, and now it's open to Android, so you don't have any excuses.
Yeah. You will waste some time if you're not careful,
Yeah.
but it is a great place to have conversations though and meet certain people. And I find myself jumping in the same rooms as certain people. If I see them in a room, I'm jumping in there. Just because you build that connection. And
Yeah.
it's not all of them are military either. I mean, some people in there, their parents were in the military or their military spouse, and you're always in these rooms and you're talking and you build these connections, and it's really cool. It helps me, and I haven't never had a need for help, like raise the flag. I need some help, but it's a cool way to have a conversation with some people, get your mind off of things, kind of unwind a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful place to connect. So I'm glad you kind of went there on Clubhouse. Have you seen anything different? What's your take on Clubhouse? I'm very curious.
I love it because like if I open up a group in Vertical or any group that I open up, the groups that I have or the rooms that I have, I'm sorry, they're very small on purpose, but it's very powerful because we'll get into deep talk. We'll get into real talk. So most of the time, if I have a room on Clubhouse, it's about mental health. Sometimes it's about podcasting. Sometimes it's how I help build $1 million a year business, but it's mostly about anything health, fitness, or addiction related issue stuff is when I open it up. So usually my rooms are like 10, 12 people, but it gets really deep. People crying, people getting emotional, but people are getting help. So that's why I do it. And of course, I don't make any money off of it. Some people are trying to become a, what do you call it? Influencer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or they start calling themselves influencers. And that's just not me. It's like somebody said, I got a message he's like, you're such an influencer. I'm like, dude, I'm no influencer because when I get off here, I got to go clean up the crap of a 14-pound dog. So
influencers do that too, Richard.
So, and we're never so cool where the wife is not going to go tell us to take out the garbage. So stay humble and stay teachable. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I've been involved in a couple of conversations over the last couple of days with some people about people being fake in there. And unfortunately that can happen. You have to be really careful if you stop in those rooms and people are trying to pitch something. It sounds too good to be true, or they sound like an expert. Please vet that stuff before you start up a business deal with them or give them some money to fix something or whatever. You could get taken advantage of real quick. But
and that's one thing that I do specialize in business is to, you got to be real. Like if you guys know me, I'm the same goofy guy here that I am at home. Like when I went to the military influencer conference, I told Stephen Kuhn, I told Lane Balone, you're all getting hugs. I don't care who you are. And, when you go up to, Stephen Kuhn, he's like 6'3", 6'4", and I wrap my arms around him. He's like, you were serious about it? I was like, yeah, because I'm the same guy, on social media that I am at home. And I think a lot of that's why I think I'm a little bit more relatable than some people, is because I'm just the same goofy guy you're going to see here or out in public with the family. I don't have to put on any airs. I am who I am. And I think, like Gary Vee says, the market is the market. And if you are fake, you are going to get found out.
You're going to be found out easy. Oh man. Yeah. There's fake people everywhere. I'm in the real estate business, as you know, and I laugh sometimes at the stuff I see in there. People posing with Ferraris and stuff and their $1 million listings. And I'm like, really? There ain't that many people that are big ballers like that. I drive a Ford Fusion. I wear button-up shirts that are untuckable. I wear nice blue jeans and some boots. Like, I don't wear 3-piece suits and fancy flashy cars. Like, that's just not me. And why the heck would I want to spend money on that? But there's so many people out there that just want to like fake it till you make it. I hate that.
Nope, you got to be real. And I think now there's also a new groove that are coming out where everybody's saying I'm authentic. I'm being real, and that they aren't. You're like, wait a minute. I just think, I'm a guy. If you guys know me, I don't drink. I've been clean now 30 years. I don't go clubbing or anything like that. But like you see all these guys, some of these people that say, I'm a family man, I'm a Christian. And then when I seen them out in Vegas, when they went to the company party, all of a sudden you're popping bottles of Don and you're at a club and you're like, yeah, now we know who the real you is. And I never,
yeah.
I think authenticity is just being you, like on your podcast, you're you. And that's what's going to make you more relatable. And people are going to want to watch you because they don't see that fakeness. They don't see that bravado.
Well, I hope so. I hope people are watching. There's a couple watching now.
It's
probably my wife and my kids.
But you know what? If it's just that one person down the road, 6 months down the road that hears it, then that's the one that matters.
Oh, totally. It's I thought that from day one because I've read that a lot of podcasters stop by episode 7, and this is episode 15. So I'm already past double that. But I always told myself 2 pieces of advice that I picked up somewhere. Your worst episode is already out. So, no matter how bad you screw it up, keep it in the back of your mind, not to knock or make it sound like, I've had bad guests, but you got to continually improve.
Yeah.
It's constant improvement. You got to go back and reflect on what went good on this episode, what went bad. Should I formulate better questions or should I have eliminated questions? Whatever. You got to reflect on that stuff.
And like there's over 2 million podcasts out there, but only 50% of them are active, and only 10% of them go past episode 8.
Yeah.
So if you figure if you're in 15, you're already in like the top 30, 40%.
I never thought about it like that.
You see?
See, I like that positivity, Richard. You just changed my whole day right there.
Well,
top
we just
30
hit
40%. Hey, I'll take top 60%. Like
I just got to notice that we were the top 5% in the world. We just hit on our show. So if anybody's
awesome.
ever on the guest, thank you. It's all about you.
But and I back to the other point, like you're right. These videos or the audio podcast or things on my website, they'll be out there for a long time.
Forever.
And forever. Unless technology drastically changes, who knows what's next beyond video. But it could be 6 months down the road, it could be 6 years, it could be 16 or 20 years, and somebody could watch it. I mean, you can go back and watch video, silent films from the 1900s. So this stuff is out there, and your words today could save 10, 15, 20, 30 lives. And, who knows? You'll never know.
And if
but
anybody's
out there forever
that wants to start a podcast, do it. Do it now. And everybody, a lot of people say, well, I don't have the camera. I don't have this, blah, blah, blah. If you ever watch, there's a video of Gary going to a garage sale, and it's captured on his iPhone. It's had over 15 million views. And this is a picture of him at a garage sale. So you don't need all the extra stuff. You don't need all crazy stuff. All you need is your iPhone or Android. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, the best day to start it was yesterday, but start it today.
Absolutely. I think my mic is like $60. I didn't spend anything big. The webcam is maybe a $30 webcam. I've got the pro version of StreamYard here to be able to do some other fancier stuff, but I'm going to quote Lane Balone from the Vetpreneur Tribe when he always talks about imperfect action. You just got to do something.
Yeah. And
that's kind of like to my point earlier, like the whole my worst podcast is out there. Like you just have imperfect action. Just do it and reflect on what you did and figure out a way to improve going forward. In full transparency, before we hopped on, I had tech issues. Go figure. It happens. Normally it's audio. I got the audio working, then the video went down, and I had to reboot my whole computer. Hence the reason why, we meet about 10 minutes before. But all kinds of crazy things can happen. You just have to roll the punches and reboot the computer, log back in, and here we are. And, it's just that the imperfect action, just take the step.
Yeah.
Because it's nerve-wracking. When I was thinking about doing this and get to the first episode, and it's like, gee, what do I do? How do I do this? I don't think I really learned anything until episode 2 or 3.
And if you're afraid of doing audio, if you're afraid of doing video, you can also go through Anchor and do audio only like I do. So
Absolutely.
there's no excuses not to do it.
Anchor is actually what I use. And you hit on some things earlier, like just doing video. That's why I'm doing these live, because with my schedule, it made sense this year to be able to do it. I knew I could do it every other Wednesday. Just do it live. The video's out there. All I got to do is go to YouTube after this, fix the description, and drop the cover image on it, and it's done. Download the audio, do some simple tweaks. Like I do like 5 or 6 steps just to clean things up, and I post it to Anchor. And I can be done within a couple of hours after the podcast. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort. Just try and clean it up a little bit and get something out there. And I would love to be at some point, sometime where you mentioned Ed Milet earlier, it's people with some huge podcasts. Like it'd be awesome to have a production team and really cranking out some stuff, but baby steps.
Yeah,
it's all constant improvement.
God's time. When things are ready to happen, it'll happen.
Absolutely. You just gotta trust.
Yep.
So had a couple other questions for you.
Okay.
One of them is about substance abuse. And I know you had a drinking problem. We know our country has been in the midst of an opioid pandemic here for a little while, whether or not it's opioids or alcohol or whatever. What advice do you have for somebody who's at that point that they know they need to get clean? I know that's a key, you have to want to, but how do they push beyond that to actually, try and do some, any advice for them?
Well, for me, I try to be as open and honest as I can be. Those commercials where it says you can go get clean and sober in California at Malibu and you can get massages and look at the ocean, it's bullshit. For me, I went to 300 meetings in a row. It cost me $300 to get sober. So get your ass to a meeting, ask for some help, because there's people that are there that are in the same boat as you are, and they're willing to help you out, and it doesn't cost you anything. And if you don't have any money, you don't have to give them anything. So just get to an AA meeting, an NA meeting, or, now the VA has an amazing system to call if you're a veteran, call the VA. They can get you into an in-treatment program. And I have about 5 or 6 of my friends that I help get into in-treatment programs, and they're totally great, and they're totally free. So definitely that's something I would try to do.
I think some of the VA's programs are really underutilized. I don't think a lot of people know enough about what the VA can offer. So great advice there, Richard. So before I get to my final 3 questions that I ask everybody, I want to ask you a question. Kind of takes a little bit of reflection. So was it maybe 6 months ago you did the Veteran Social Summit? You told your story. Today I decide, then that developed into its own mental health summit, which was awesome, by the way. I think I tuned in for about 95% of the whole day. And so I'm just kind of curious, what kind of feedback have you gotten from that when you partnered with Ryan and made that happen?
I've had so many people that have, and I've even had family members that actually went to the event, and they got so much out of Annette's story dealing with military sexual trauma, with Tammy, her story. Robert, nobody knew of the stuff that Robert Garcia went through until he told his story. So everybody has a story, and I believe that everybody's story should be told. So I've had a couple people that actually messaged me or texted me, and they've actually got help or actually checked themselves into rehab to get help. So it's been a life-changing thing, and I'm hoping to make it go maybe statewide and eventually worldwide, like a monthly thing. Today I decide, all around the country. And everybody awesome. That went, none of the speakers got paid. It was all just to help people out. So nobody made any money off of it, and it was done on purpose. We did that on purpose, so we can help other people without having to worry about, oh, he's just getting paid to say this. So everybody that did it, they did it out of their heart. And today I decided I think it's going to start taking off on its own to be doing some bigger things in the future.
Well, I certainly hope so, because I got a lot of value out of that as I kind of go on my own path of kind of working through things, and just to hear other people's stories and just inspires a little bit of hope. Other people have been through different things, similar things, whatever, and they're all successful. Everybody you mentioned there, I've connected with a handful of them. The other ones I know, or I've listened to their shows themselves, and some good stories. And that was an awesome day. And
Yeah.
I was really curious what kind of feedback. I did not expect. I guess in the back of my mind, I didn't expect, that it helped people that much. Where they went and checked themselves in, or really got the help that they need. Like,
And then, a lot of questions got answered, like when John Krotek, when he talking about what he went through, and then also talking about some of the medicinal stuff like CBD. So it had a whole wide variety of different topics. It wasn't just one certain thing. It dealt with the mental, the physical, the spiritual, the mind, the whole body. Because usually when there's something wrong with either the mind, the body, or the soul, they're all off. So, we got to try to have balance and, get everything healthy. So that's what I think it was great, because it was about the mind, the body, and the spirit.
well put. That is definitely true. You gotta work on all of it. You can't just attack one, because then you're neglecting everything else. So
Yeah.
that brings me to my final three questions, and I don't know if you know what these are. These questions get pretty interesting. I'm always surprised what my guests come up with. So the first one, what advice would you have for somebody looking to get out of the military today?
First, I would say keep every single piece of paper, every document, 3, 4 triplicates. Make sure that you have everything documented. And if you're 12 months out, I want you to start working on an SOP of what you're going to do when you get out, because the military has this, what is it, like a TAPS program?
It's kind of a joke, honestly. Yes.
So and then you're just out on the street. And if you're looking to get out, try to think what you want to do when you get out, and then find a mentor that's doing what you want to do before you get out, so you can actually start working on it as you're still in and getting ready to get transition out, because that year goes by quick and that money goes by quick. So make sure you find a mentor in whatever you want to do when you get out. Oh, and by the way, get on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, you're losing money. Join LinkedIn. Even if you're still in the military, get on LinkedIn.
I think that's the only valuable thing they teach you in TAPS is to get on LinkedIn. I don't know if they really. I got to reflect back 10 years, but I don't know if it was anything more than just get on LinkedIn, and it's really important. And you got to have a resume. Like, that's really all I took away from the TAPS or whatever the heck it's called in the Air Force. But
Yep.
That's a good one. An SOP. Yeah,
Yep.
you got to have a plan for sure.
One thing in the military we all know is what an SOP is. We all know what a 9-line is. So why don't we do the same thing with our personal life and our career? Because like, even I'm a big Shark Tank guy, and they even say all the time, if you don't have a business plan, you don't have a business. You have a hobby. So make sure that whatever you're planning on doing, you have an SOP.
Absolutely. So I'm going to flip the script now. Anybody who's young and they're thinking about joining the military, what kind of advice would you have for them before they sign on that dotted line and raise that hand?
Definitely do it. I loved it. The first time I loved it way too much. But the second time, it's how I grew into being a man. It's how I grew into learning how to build relationships, how to work as a team, how to be a team leader. And then you learn also about people from all walks of life. Because I wrote in my book that, one of the most popular chapters in the book was the day that I got cured of racism in 1986. But, once you join the military, you travel the world and you get to have more experiences, because you can always go back to your hometown and there's going to be the same people.
Always there.
Yeah. The same people that they haven't done anything but work at Walmart. They haven't traveled the world like you have. They don't have experiences like you have. So I would definitely take time to do it. And if you want to go to college, it's a definitely great way to get your college in the future.
It's a good one. The education benefits are definitely worth it. It's going to stress the heck out of you, though. I'm writing those finishing that up myself. That is a pain in the butt to be the old guy in class, but it is a great way to get the education paid for.
Yeah.
And you definitely don't want to go get an education and have to pay for it. So, final question.
That's why I started a podcast. So now I can get an MBA in business for free. Because now I can invite millionaires and billionaires on, ask them what I want to know, and I'm getting an education for free.
That's a darn good way of putting it. So the last question I got for you before I put you in the back room and play my little outro video is give you an opportunity to give a shout out to any kind of veteran organization or organizations that you think are doing some good things out there that you'd like to shine a light on.
Well, of course, I've been into Vetpreneur Tribe almost from the beginning. Me and Steven, we've had our run-ins. He's straightened my ass out a couple of times. So definitely the Vetpreneur Tribe if you're a veteran. But also, I'm also aligned with a friend of mine. His name is Malachi, and he has a 501(c)(3). So yes, it is real. It's not BS. It's called a Warrior's Garden, and it helps veterans that are struggling with PTSD, traumatic brain injury, depression. It helps them get back into gardening and actually using their hands and getting a little bit of peace back in their life. So those are probably the two biggest things that I'm involved with right now.
That is an interesting way of doing it. Heard a lot of ways to try and get people's minds off of things and give them some skills and address some things. But gardening, that's a first. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's really cool.
They're called a Warrior's Garden.
Plus you can plant things and grow it, and then when you can taste the rewards of all your hard work and effort.
Yeah,
so it's something tangible.
And like I said, it's legit. It's a 501(c), so it's not one of those fly by night. He's been doing it for many, many years, and he's out of Tennessee. So if anybody in Tennessee, definitely check him out.
Absolutely, you have to give me the information because I'd love to try to build on my website a lot more resources and kind of give some shout outs to nonprofits. But the thing is, there's so many of them out there. And I don't want to just put one on there unless somebody knows somebody connected to that organization, or I've talked to them, or somebody's been through it themselves or has some firsthand knowledge. I don't want to point somebody in the direction of something that hasn't been kind of vetted in some way, shape, or form. So,
well, if people know me, if I don't believe in a product, I will not use it. All my sponsors, I have 20 different sponsors for the show. If I don't believe in your product, I will not even put it on the show. I will not promote it because, even when I was in the health and fitness industry, if I didn't use the product or if I didn't try the product, I would not recommend it. Because how can I say it's a great product in my heart if I know it's crap? I can't do it.
You must have done a lot of trying different vitamins and minerals and supplements. And
I used to, in my house, I have a whole cabinet of just supplements over the last 30 years. And some of them were good. Some of them were crap. But if you were a supplement company and you sent me a product to try and I tell you it's crap. And a lot of times, like there's a company, I'm not going to mention their name, great company. I just don't want to get sued. But
that's a good idea.
Products tasted like crap, but they worked amazing. So when somebody would come in, they'd be like, I want to pick up this product. I'm like, I'm telling you now, it tastes like crap, but it works amazingly. And so when the guy came back, he's like, you know what? Stuff tastes like crap, but it was amazing. So I always think, you always have to be honest in whatever you do, because if you don't, it'll come back to bite you in the future.
Yeah, that guy could easily walk back in and say, hey, Richard, man, you didn't tell me that tastes like dog crap. Took a big old scoop of that stuff. And,
if you guys, if you watched my video on Today I Decide, when I opened up, I said, this video is not for 99% of you. It's just for one person. So, a lot of people were like, what do you mean it's not for me? And a lot more people listened because they knew I wasn't. I told them, even when we did the Veteran Social Summit, I'm not there for your wallet. I'm there for your heart. And I think that's what makes me different.
Yeah, no, that's really deep because 99 or so percent of people who watch that, like, I loved hearing your story, and you feel a connection to that, and it's just an amazing story, and it's inspiring. I mean, there's a lot of emotions that come out, listening to your story and other people's stories. But there's that one person out there that has it cocked and loaded, or they've got the needle in the arm, and like it's time to change some shit now,
Yeah.
like right now, like it's an emergency. About to yank my earbuds out, get too animated over here, but yeah, that's that one person that needs to hear it right then and there.
And that's why
So
I came out with that today. I decide, because for people that are listening, if you don't know what that means, it means that the three most important words in the English language are today I decide. Because once you make a decision, then all you have to do is act upon it. Because we've all ran over squirrels, right? We've all ran them over.
couple.
But the reason why most of them get ran over is because they did not make that decision to get out of the way. So that's why I say the most important words in the English language are today I decide. So if you're struggling out there and you need help, get help now. Do not wait. Pick up the phone. Get help now.
Decide today. And I right there at the bottom of the screen, I've got your website there. Reach out to me, Richard. We'll get you pointed out, in whatever direction we can, hook you up with whoever we can, and try and help fix whatever we can. Do what we can. We're not miracle workers, but
if I don't know, if I can't give you the answer, I have a huge veterans network. Somebody has the answer.
Absolutely. There will definitely be somebody, especially in the Vetpreneur Tribe and all those other groups we're in. So that's a great place to leave it. Decide today, really decide today to better yourself, better your situation, better your family, whatever, decide today, make that decision, make it happen. And like I said earlier with Lane Malone, Imperfect Action, decide and start taking some action, because without the action, it's not going to happen. So, All right, Richard, I'm going to put you in the back room here, and I'll catch up with you here in a minute.
And that is it, folks. Thanks for tuning into the episode today. We really appreciate you taking a listen or watch. Please remember, we have a website, www.battlebuddypodcast.net. We're always trying to add more resources there, so please go check it out. And if you have ideas for extra resources, please reach out to us and let us know what you think we can add to the website. Don't forget, you can listen to this podcast in places such as Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and many more. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button on any of our social media channels. And finally, if you are feeling like you're at the end of your rope and you need some extra help, please reach out to a battle buddy, or you can call the National Suicide Hotline at 800-273-8255. No matter what you do, brothers and sisters, get the help you need, because we want you here tomorrow.